Alan.
Hi, Siki.
Guess what we're going to talk about? Cloud. It's different for us. We talk about it all the time.
And hasn't it changed in recent years?
Yeah, this new research report that we just published, it was a very interesting because it was a walk into 20 years of subjects and topics. Some things have changed dramatically, and some they stayed the same, exactly the same when we started 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think certainly what I've seen is a move away from a focus on technology. More recently, the focus is all about transformation and innovation, of course.
And that's, I think, the biggest things that we can say that cloud has changed. When we started, it was like, let's run away from the data center, let's get this data center in the sky. Well, we realized that the data center in the sky is not really a good move. It's quite expensive, the business case, and it breaks very fast. And the other thing is that clients started to realize that there is a bigger purpose to cloud technology that really can transform their business. But the word is business. At the beginning, it was a total IT-centric move. The transformation happened when the business got involved in it.
Yeah, I think we saw nearly a decade of what we would call lift and shift, right? This urgency to escape the data center, this belief that nirvana was out there in the cloud, of course. But I think the reality for many of our clients was perhaps a lot more painful. Have you seen any recent examples maybe where clients are still attempting that transitional journey based on lift and shift?
So I just came from talking to a client that they moved 75 applications, not a lot. And after a year, they had a 5x cost. So I'm asking myself, well, first of all, 75 is not that much for such a large client. So they couldn't empty a data center. They couldn't fire a lot of people for it. They couldn't reduce their cost of operation because it's not such a big sample. So now they're saying, oh, stop, I don't want to go to the cloud. What we told them is there are better way to take your application to the cloud. And remember, the word is application and what you want to do with that business and that asset. But it was just today. And I felt like, I thought this would have stopped.
So isn't that incredible, right? We're in the second decade of helping clients transform via cloud. And yet, still clients believe they can just lift and shift. The result is, even today, a 500% cost increase as a result of that journey. I mean, what I find remarkable, of course, is when you talk to clients today about their expectations of their journey to cloud, they're being very prescriptive now about the amount of transformation that they expect. It's not unusual, for example, for a client to say, I'm going to limit you to no more than 5% of rehosting as an element of my journey. The focus seems to have moved towards the middle ground. I would call that re-platforming, where the client is saying, move me away from this VM-centric kind of legacy, posture. I want to kind of become partially cloud native. I want to focus on containerization. That's where they believe they can kind of find that middle ground, see some real efficiency improvement, while also seeing some innovation driving transformation too. Do you see that too?
I see that, and I think what's and in the report is very clear, is that people talks about the amount of assets that they have in the cloud, and there's 25, 35, but when you look at them, a big chunk of them are cloud native, things that they just decided to rewrite, re-engineer in cloud because speed, innovation, competitive advantage was important. The other element that the reports show very clear is IT and the business not being in the same page. Cloud native bring IT and the business on the same page with the same. The journey to cloud is still a battleground of cost efficiency run by IT, run by a cloud providers. A lot of time the cloud provider push the clients to do that. So hasn't changed. It was IT and the business were different. The only thing is today when they think innovation and they think cloud, they actually do come together.
Yeah, and I think what we see here in the labs, of course, is the business is increasingly dominant in terms of transformational expectations. There are expectations around innovation, for example. It's the business that's driving a lot of those conversations. We've seen IT, I think, in recent years frantically react to that and try and change their own behavior. I mean, one thing that we notice here, you mentioned the client that you met today with that 500% kind of increase in cost. I think clients have seen maybe some of their competitors, other organizations be successful adopting this cloud native approach. And I think we've seen that kind of, not so much desperation, but anticipation that they can change their posture, change the way they run IT, and of course, maybe reskill the workforce along the way.
The title of the research cloud, you have to make innovation an habit. There is so much that we can do with old applications. You got to write cloud native, new engineer platform, and that's the perfect use of cloud technology because the cloud environment are extremely intelligent, innovative platform. At the moment, in the last 20 years, we've been filling them up with applications that, maybe were 20 years old. Maybe they shouldn't have come to the cloud, but that's why the cloud is expensive. So let's talk about the business case. Let's talk about FinOps. Let's talk about discipline of finance, because I think it is an important topic for our clients.
See, I've got a view about FinOps, right? And I tend to think there's correlation between interest in FinOps and a dependency on a lift and shift migration to cloud.
Yes.
Those clients that, for whatever reason, didn't do a transformational journey, they moved their applications from the data center to any cloud provider, have realized that there is no transformation. The costs have increased, and that is where the correlation resides, right? That this is now very expensive.
Yes.
What do I need to do to reduce the cost? Oh, it's FinOps, perhaps.
But FinOps works only well if you really adopt a cloud operation mindset. And that means that if you decide to have your application in VM to run 24/7, 7 days a week, it's going to be expensive. It isn't like you where in your data center you have unlimited, server depreciation, and doesn't matter for me to, pause or put certain VMs dormant in the cloud. If it's Sunday, while you watch football or any other sport, they're going to charge you for that. There's a discipline that the clients have been.
It's interesting because I hear a lot of FinOps teams complain that the problem is the application team's problem. You haven't modernized your application. You've just moved it as is to the cloud. If you would only modernize your application, all of these expensive issues would go away. But of course, the application owner says, why? Why should I modernize? My application is perfectly fine today.
But that's why it brings back the concept of product-centric operating model. If you operate your teams, application, IT, even the business the same way in your traditional way, you are not going to take advantage of the benefits of speed and agility of the cloud. And I mean, we were preparing a workshop for a bank in Austria, and the client asked why is not changing. And I said, you're just trying to manage and operate the cloud like it was stuff in your data center's own servers. It is a different dynamics. And so more and more they are asking us, what do we have to do? How do we have to train our people? How do I redesign processes? That's why cloud is the engine of innovation, because it makes enterprises and the people in the enterprise to face with their own old way of doing and new way to adapt.
I've got a good example actually of a client we're helping currently a European bank on what we would probably call a cloud-native journey, right?
Yes.
They've got quite an interesting ambition in terms of this is exactly what we would expect to see, all right? But the interesting, I think, dynamic is as their journey has accelerated and they've realized they haven't got the skills, they haven't got the practices, the entire governance and operating model needs to change, they've come back to us and they've asked us to pretty much reskill much of the workforce,
Yes.
right? We now have to reskill 2,000 people in this bank, including the leadership, so that they are able to become cloud native themselves and employ these new practices.
I think if I remember well, skills and availability of manpower might have been first of the second element of the slowdown of adoptions of cloud and cloud technology. It is amazing to think that we've gone so far. I mean, it's been over 20 years we're doing cloud, and we still don't have a huge body of work, of people that can take advantage of this great trend that has changed our business today.
So if someone was to ask me for one piece of advice to get the best out of their journey to cloud, do you know what my response would be? Join one of our cloud native academies that we provide in HCL, not just to our workforce, but to our global client base as well. We will give you all of the strategic, professional, and technical skills you need to be successful.
My single advice is don't make it a sprint. It's a marathon. Have very clear business objective and revisit the business objective in line with the business, and be very familiar with the cloud provider and the platform that you're adopting. We have still a lot of clients that say, I'm picking X cloud with just not the depth and understanding, because not every cloud is the same, and not every workload is perfect for every cloud. So the preparations and the scope and business case and objective clarity without rushing to the cloud is probably my strongest advice on 20 years of doing this.
And I think I would add maybe one piece of advice to IT leaders, all right? And clearly, a successful cloud journey is not really about the technology, all right? And if you can focus daily on the relationship with the business and demonstrate continual transformational modernization, the relationship will be improved, and I suspect the overall cloud modernization journey is going to accelerate as a result.
One advice that I would give to my IT leaders that go to the cloud is be very familiar with the finance of IT and the impact that cloud has on the finance of IT. And do not hide from it. Sit down with your financial leaders and understand the balance of moving things to CapEx, to OpEx, which kind of skills, how much the ebb and flow of the cloud is going to impact, and get the use of cloud innovation in tune with the business, not just to be another cost center. Keep the curiosity up, because cloud regenerates itself every year, every 6 months. Saying I know it all or saying I've seen it all, it is just closing doors for each other opportunity, because curiosity is the most important element in such a tumultuous change environment like cloud technology.
Yeah, I think it's obvious, right? We live in a world of constant change and disruption, right? And I think it's important for each of us to appreciate that the need for us to constantly reinvent ourselves is especially important. And I think if I was to look forward maybe over the next 12 months, right, we see this emergence of Gen AI. It's going to bring solid impact to all of our clients. I look at that with huge appeal and attraction, all right? And I look at that as a capability to drive the reinvention of not just IT, but the business within our clients as well. So I think we're lucky actually to work in an industry that exhibits such constant change.
The last thing that I really wish for is that now that cloud technology is more pervasive, we do really take more seriously the sustainability questions and the consumption questions and how we can make it, much more carbon neutral and things like that. It is, I feel that today we're doing journeys there. The cloud provider has planned, but I still feel that, IT consume a ton of energy in the world, and it does a ton of good too, but we need to be very conscientious that, consuming a lot of energy produce a lot of carbon.
It's interesting. I spoke to a client today who shared with me that their energy costs for their data center have tripled during the last 12 months. And for them, it has destroyed the business case to maintain the data center. And it's brought, again, new urgency towards maybe I should move this capability into a cloud provider now.
That's a perfect use case. And it has the other benefit that is going to help her.